Hey, Tom.
Let's do it. Let me turn my light on. Hang on a second.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Atlanta Sports Unlimited on the Atlanta NFL Jocks and Pigskins on Atlanta Sports Unlimited channel with Tom Pollen. I'm Dave Holcomb, Chris Smitherman behind the scenes with us today. And we've got a cat as Tom gets set up. Cat,
I
Tom,
was looking a bit dark.
which cat is this one?
Zozo.
Zozo.
Yeah, Clo is sick. She's not feeling well. She's had the sniffles all week. I think she's got a respiratory infection. Yeah, she just sneezed. Poor little thing. But yeah, this is Zozo. The one who usually likes to be on camera.
Right. Yeah. I should recognize her by now, but
Right.
I do not. But we have another full show for you today, so we're going to get rolling. A divisional weekend in the NFL, 8 teams remaining. I think they're calling it, some of the announcers last week were calling it the final 8. So we will have a breakdown. Right, yeah, they have to have a name for everything.
Yes.
So we have a good breakdown this week of the final 8, the 4 games that are happening this weekend. And we will have our prize picks as well against the spread, picks against the spread, and then picks, individual player picks. And maybe we'll dive a little bit into the coaching carousel. I know that it's kind of difficult to keep track of it at this point because it's just this guy interviewing here, this guy interviewing there. But
it's been a real carousel. I mean, they're going all around the league.
Yeah,
they keep spinning.
Yes, but maybe we'll touch upon that in the last 5 or 10 minutes if there's time. I think it's going to be an exciting hiring cycle, I guess.
So do I.
Word I'm looking for. I think it's going to be an exciting cycle, and I have at least one reason for that, and I'll share that in a little bit. But today's video brought to you by Prize Picks. We'll have picks for Prize Picks a little bit later, but download the app. That's what the app sponsors our show, sponsors our channel. So if you want to support the channel, one of the best ways to do that is downloading Prize Picks and getting started there. But make sure you use the promo code ASU. That's how Prize Picks knows that you got there through us. And it's not just a way to support us. You also get free money. 100% match on your first deposit with the promo code ASU. So you can put down $20, you get $20 back. Up to $100. You can put down $100, you get $100 back. And then we have a little bit later in the show, we'll have the guys that we're going to be using this weekend with our prize picks. And hopefully together we can make some money.
Yeah, let's do it. All excited about it.
Yes, but today, the first game, I think we'll just dive into divisional weekend to start. And of course, we want to make you a part of the show. We're not really going to be talking much about the Atlanta Falcons today, if at all. But if there is a topic with the Atlanta Falcons that you want to hit upon, let us know. We can divert our plans and talk about that Falcons topic. And if you're watching on replay, tweet at us at TJ Pollen, at DM Holcomb. But the first game Saturday, today, as of this recording, is the Cincinnati Bengals visiting the Tennessee Titans. We know who Chris is rooting for in both of these AFC matchups. But the Bengals won their first playoff game in 31 years last week. A huge deal. Longest drought in the NFL. Longest drought in professional sports history for playoff win. It's not the longest drought for series win if you're looking at, the other sports have series, but nonetheless, a accomplishment ending that streak, and they got a chance to go to their first championship game in forever today with a win against the Titans.
Yeah, and amazing, a little fun fact, that playoff victory 30 years ago was against the Houston Oilers.
Right.
And they are playing the same franchise, although now that they've moved to Nashville, they're the Tennessee Titans. So the same team that they beat 30 years ago, they're playing today. So there's a little fun fact for you, little history. Boy, the Bengals can score in a hurry. It's amazing. what they can do, but the Titans just win. And I let off my article. If you go to www.football-a-to-z.com, I have my analysis of today's games up. And the first thing you look at is the Tennessee Titans aren't the sexiest number one seed that we've ever seen.
That's an understatement.
They got a great personality, though. It's like that.
Yeah.
Not sexy, great personality. But, they're a tough team. And they play tough. And they're a reflection of their coach, Mike Vrabel.
Right.
And that's the thing. They don't do anything outstanding except when Derrick Henry's on the field, but they win games. They're 8-3 against teams that finish the season over 500. And about half of those victories came when Derrick Henry was on the bench. So it's amazing what this team does to keep winning.
Yeah, I think they're very solid defensively. They don't scream at you, Super Bowl contending defense, but they're solid defensively. They're tough, as you said, like their head coach. They're really good special teams wise. This is the way they've been for a while before they became, the number one seed in the AFC the last couple of years. They rarely beat themselves. They don't have a ton of penalties. And if you're not going to beat yourself in this league, you're going to win a lot of games.
Yes,
a lot of teams do beat themselves. Look at the Dallas Cowboys beating themselves with 14 penalties last year. So
and that final play call.
But can they win a Super Bowl playing that way, though? That is the question that they have to answer this offseason. Not this offseason, this postseason. Can they go all the way and win a championship by just not beating themselves? They've gone to the next level this season, but will they have a healthy Derrick Henry? How much can Julio Jones contribute? A.J. Brown had a huge game against the 49ers the couple of days before Christmas, then wasn't as visible the last two regular season games. Can those guys gel well enough offensively for them to score enough points to beat the Bengals today? That's the questions for me. Those are the questions
for you. That's a lot of good questions. A lot of good questions. I don't know if I have any definite answers for you.
I don't expect you to. I expect the game will answer this.
All right. Derrick Henry is the key to this game. But he's not going to play as much as you would normally see. He's not going to get the 50 rushing attempts. He's not going to be carrying the ball. Well,
that's one of Gary's questions for us here. How much will Derrick Henry play?
The fortunate thing for the Titans is they have D'Onta Foreman and Dontrell Hilliard, who filled in ably. I mean, they're not Derrick Henry,
right?
But they did fill in very ably when Henry, during Henry's injury. So they're going to contribute. So you're not going to need Derrick Henry to get, 50, 60 carries in this game. And I know I'm exaggerating, but he doesn't need that many. But he's going to get the tough yards for you, too. And that's the thing. Henry was not going to be denied playing this game. Apparently, he has a metal support in his foot, and he's got the same in his cleat. So he's playing hurt, but he's playing. He was not going to be denied being in this game. So Bogey decided to come up and have his own opinion.
Well, you reference D'Onta Foreman, Dontrell Hilliard. Foreman averaged 4.3 yards per carry this year, and so did Henry, both averaging the same amount. And Hilliard averaged a much smaller sample size, but he had 6.3 yards per carry during the regular season, 56 attempts there, as opposed to 133 for Foreman. Henry had 219 in just 8 games.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing the workload that Derrick Henry has handled over the last 3 seasons. Normally, running backs, once they've had 1 or 2 seasons of 250 carries, they're done. Their life cycle is over. And
I don't want to say Henry's done, but he did get hurt this year. I mean, the likelihood of injuries do go up when you have more touches.
Yes, they do. So but and that's why the Titans can get away without rushing Henry quite as much this game. Maybe watching him on the field. Mike Vrabel said he's not going to be on a supposed pitch count, but he is going to keep an eye on Henry as far as stamina and what he can do while he's on the field. Henry did practice in pads this week, so he did participate in practice all week. So it's not like his stamina, he's starting from complete zero as far as stamina.
Yeah. Well, how about for the Cincinnati Bengals? You identified Derrick Henry as the key for the Titans. I mean, is it just as simple as Joe Burrow for the Bengals?
Yeah. It's that simple. My God, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and C.J. Uzomah. My God, what a group, isn't it?
It is. It is a big group. Yeah, the Tyler Boyd is their third guy, and I guess he hasn't really emerged as a number one, but I mean he's pretty talented for a third guy. He's not really your typical slot receiver.
No.
That group is fantastic. We talked about it before the season. Will they be able to block well enough for Joe Burrow? They have blocked pretty well.
Somewhat.
Somewhat, yeah.
They're still
good
one
enough.
of the worst teams in the league at protecting Joe Burrow.
Yeah, but good enough for Joe Burrow to put up points and all those yards that he's doing right now with that receiving corps. So
good enough for him to make plays.
Yeah.
And that's all you can ask for, especially with that group of receivers.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Mixon, I mean, the Titans are tough against the run, so I don't think Joe Mixon is going to have as big an impact on the ground as he might have in the air. But, he's still going to play a part. But, again, I mean, with that group of receivers, Burrow managed to be second in the league in passer rating, and he was third in net passing yards per attempt. So they're going to go downfield on you. I mean, and he's going to succeed at some point. And that's what is going to be the problem for the
Titans.
Titans is Burrow is the best passer in the NFL, not named Aaron Rodgers. So
wow, so you're putting him ahead of Mahomes?
No, right now, statistically, he had a better season than Mahomes.
Okay.
I'm not saying he's better overall than Mahomes.
Yeah.
But with that group of receivers, he was second in the league in passer rating.
And Mahomes had a slow start.
Yeah, Mahomes had a slow start. Well, that whole team had a slow start.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is with Burrow now, I mean, the one thing the Titans do have is they're tough on the defensive line. Harold Landry, Danico Autry, and Jeffrey Simmons are all, sack machines for the Titans, and they're going to give that offensive line a lot of problems. And that's another reason why Mixon isn't going to be as effective today. It's just because Tennessee does have a defensive line that they can count on.
Mm-hmm.
So Burrow, it's not necessarily Tennessee's secondary that's going to be the problem for Burrow. It's going to be standing up long enough to find those receiving targets.
Right. And the nightcap today will be San Francisco 49ers visiting the Green Bay Packers, a matchup that seems like we have quite often in the playoffs, especially in the divisional round. Really, since I started watching football, I mean, back with Steve Young, Brett Favre was a great matchup in the late 90s in the playoffs. And now we get, Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy Garoppolo, 49ers escaping Dallas after not having a great fourth quarter. Cowboys, a ferocious comeback, falling short partially because of that play that you referenced earlier in the show. My gosh, what a terrible. I mean, I don't know if it was a play call from Kellen Moore.
It was a play call.
It was a play call. All right.
They said that they practiced that play every week. So it was a play call. However, one of the problems is and I read this in Dak Prescott's interview after the game. One of the things that they practice is when they do that play, Prescott hands the ball back to the center puts it down, and they snap to get the spike. You can't do that. You cannot do that. You got to hand the ball to the official.
Yeah.
All right. Somebody's got to touch that ball before it goes down.
Right.
And they had it a couple of yards ahead of where it was supposed to be anyway. And I know the umpire ran into Prescott and ran into the center as he was going for the ball, but that's Prescott's fault.
Yeah.
You know, you got to get away and let the official do his job before you line up under center. That was Prescott's fault. For being in the way of the official, that wasted about a second and a half.
And that's all it took.
That's all it took.
Yeah.
Because that snap clearly came after the clock hit 0.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
yeah, I think any big football fan knows that the referee, the umpire, has to touch the ball before the ball is snapped.
He has to spot it. I mean, that's it.
For Prescott not to know that, and for Mike McCarthy to try and blame the officials for being slow, was really inexcusable.
Yeah, it was.
They didn't know that or didn't understand that that's the rule.
Well, as I say, Prescott said after the game that that's how they practice it. They practice it.
Yeah, well, they practice it wrong. That's what I'm saying.
They practice it wrong, right? It's a lack of coaching.
Right.
Yeah. You know, it's just a complete failure of their coaching staff.
Mm-hmm.
Mike McCarthy, you know, is as much to blame for that as anybody. And I think, you know, 14 penalties, my God. That's just a complete lack of discipline, and that's on the coach too. That's Mike McCarthy's fault.
I mean, it wasn't a one-game thing either. They led the league in penalties in the regular season.
Right. So I mean, that's all on Mike McCarthy.
So what do you think, real quick, what do you think of McCarthy, the rumors that maybe he's not going to come back? It sounds like he's going to come back. And Stephen Jones, who's not 100% in charge, but Stephen Jones saying that Mike McCarthy was going to be back. He was pretty adamant about that. But the rumors still circling. And you got both your coordinators are getting tons of interviews. We saw this with Jason Garrett, that any sign of trouble for blanking on his name at the moment, but they fired their previous coach and promoted Jason Garrett because he was a sought after offensive coordinator at the time, and he became the head coach. Do you see that as a situation with Kellen Moore or Dan Quinn, especially with Mike McCarthy, you know, just an epic failure in this postseason for him?
Well, I think Kellen Moore really got hurt by that. The fact of that last play, because nobody's actually come out and said, well, was that Kellen Moore or Mike McCarthy? See, Bears fans watched Mike McCarthy coach for a long time in Green Bay. That did not surprise Bears fans when they saw such a complete brain cramp by Mike McCarthy by the Dallas Cowboys at the end of the game.
I don't think most people were surprised either.
No.
I don't think for being a Super Bowl winning coach, I don't think Mike McCarthy has the best reputation among fans and around the league.
He doesn't.
Yeah.
And as I say, you know, and Packers fans will agree with me. I mean, it's one of the things that Packers fans and Bears fans are going to agree on. Mike McCarthy isn't all that great of a coach. He puts together teams with some outstanding players. Give him a team full of outstanding players, and he can go pretty far with it.
He knows offense pretty well, too.
He knows offense, yeah. But he just doesn't know how to train his players to get the hell out of the way of the official. I mean, which is important, but, you know, it's, you know, the Cowboys lost that game a lot earlier than that particular point.
Yeah.
But to me, the argument is they were trying to get closer for a final throw into the end zone. Well, you got 14 yards closer. Was that enough? Isn't being 14 yards back, can't you still take 2 shots at the end zone? is it making that big of a difference to get another 14 yards before you take your final shot into the end zone?
Yeah.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Here's my little sickie. This is Clo. She's been.
Oh, wow. So everybody making an appearance today.
Yeah. So, just the Cowboys played bad the first 3 quarters. The problem is the 49ers couldn't put them away.
Yeah.
You got 3 field goals out of Robbie Gould. You should have had more scores out of that. They kept Dallas in that game. That game should have been a lot more comfortable than it was at the end.
Well, and Jimmy Garoppolo making a couple mistakes too,
right.
kept Dallas in that game. I hate to say it because I like Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, you look at his record. You talk about the Titans. All they do is win. All Jimmy Garoppolo does is win.
Yeah.
But for him to get for him to be considered a franchise quarterback, a guy that you just hand the keys to, an organization hands the keys to, cannot make an interception like he had in that.
No.
Awful interception. And it let Dallas into the game. If that interception doesn't happen, then it's a blowout.
Yeah. Well, and another problem is, Shanahan, he's got this reputation as a genius. All they had to do was run the quarterback sneak successfully, and the game was over. But they got called for, movement, ahead of the snap. They put 3 linemen in motion. Why, when you're running a quarterback sneak, do you put anyone in motion? Just snap the ball and let your quarterback take care of business. And Garoppolo snapped the ball before Trent Williams was set. It's just like, you're going to get an illegal motion penalty. The more motion you get going on in a play, the more can go wrong. And you're running a quarterback sneak. Why are you running motion when you're running a quarterback sneak?
It's an example of trying to be too cute, trying to fool the other team. And
right. Exactly. Too smart for the room. I keep saying that. I keep saying that about coaches. You've heard me say it many times. Too smart for the room. They can't do anything simple. It's a simple quarterback sneak. They've been running them since the beginning of the T formation when they finally put the quarterback under center. They've been running the quarterback sneak. So 1940, you've been running it for 81 years.
Yeah.
It's not a difficult play. Very easy. Put guys in motion. I couldn't believe that. I'm like, here comes the quarterback sneak. Why have they got guys in motion? Well, it did them in. Because they lost that 4th and 1. They lost that first down, and they gave the Cowboys a chance to try and come back into it.
My thing with Shanahan is more philosophical. Just not enough running plays to try and run out the clock when you got a big lead in a playoff game. This is the 3rd time that's happened where they had his team had a double-digit lead, and he won this one. But he blew 2 Super Bowls. Could have had a Super Bowl win, of course, with the Falcons if he runs the ball when they're up by 8 and they kick a field goal. And then against the Chiefs, they're up by, I think there was 10 or 11, and they gained 4 or 5 yards on first down, and then on second down they're passing.
Right.
We were trying to run a 4-minute drill with a few minutes left in the game. Why are you passing? Why are you doing anything but running the ball when you're gaining 4 yards per rush in the 4-minute drill?
Yeah. That's why I don't get. That's why I say Shanahan is just, it's got to be him. He's got to be able to go to the podium after the game and say, I did this because, and it worked because, and aren't I a genius? I'm such a genius for doing it this way. And the problem is Zach Taylor with the Cincinnati Bengals does the same thing.
A lot of coaches do.
Well, Zach Taylor gets too conservative. Zach Taylor kind of sat on the ball and gave another chance, and it's ridiculous. It's very frustrating to watch when you see these guys kind of almost outsmart themselves.
Yeah. So Shanahan against Matt LaFleur in Green Bay. How do you see this game breaking down?
The problem is, again, you've got Jimmy Garoppolo. They're going to make mistakes, and the Packers aren't a team you can make a mistake against. Yeah. At some point, Jimmy Garoppolo is going to make a mistake. One of the good things is Nick Bosa has cleared concussion protocol, so he's going to be on the field. But, Rodgers led the league in passer rating, 4th in net yards per pass attempt, and passing touchdowns. I mean, he has a psychic connection with Davante Adams that no team has been able to interfere with so far this year.
Yeah.
It's amazing because the ball's going to Davante Adams and you can't stop the ball going to Davante Adams.
Yeah.
So it's really, that's what San Francisco's up against. I think Rodgers just has too much experience to let this thing, the 49ers, if they can score touchdowns instead of the field goals. I'm sorry, but Robbie Gould, I love Robbie Gould. But if he's kicking 3 field goals to try and put you far enough in the lead to hold on, a win, you're not doing what you need to do.
Yeah.
I mean, now Elijah Mitchell is going to get his runs. He's going to get his yardage because the Packers are 29th in the league in yards per carry allowed. So, I mean, the 49ers are going to have their chances in this game. And Deebo Samuel, is going to do something outstanding and incredible and just knock your eyes out. Deebo Samuel was good for that once a game. But I don't think it's going to be enough. And another thing I looked at before this game was the 49ers are 2-6 when playing in prime time over the last 2 years.
So last week's game doesn't count as prime time?
No. I'm talking about regular season prime time. Yeah, last week's game counts as prime time, but still. All right, they're 3-6 in prime time.
I'm just yeah.
Be that way, Dave.
I'm just asking if what was it, a 4:00 start, 4:30 on a Sunday in the playoffs, if that counted as prime time. It was the only game on at that time.
7:00 counts as prime time.
All right. Different rules for playoffs, I'd say.
No.
It was prime time in London. It was 8 p.m. for the London fans. All those NFL fans in London that NFL is talking about all the time, it was prime time for them.
Okay, it was prime time for them. Yeah, it's like everybody makes the argument on Fridays at work. It's 5:00 somewhere.
Right. Yeah. I don't have the statistics to back this up. Like you're spitting out these great statistics. But Green Bay they worry me in the playoffs. I said last week, don't worry about the Cowboys in the playoffs. This is a different Cowboys team.
I said that too.
And we agreed that at least this round they were going to take care of business. And I
said that too. Yeah.
They don't. They fall flat on their face at home against I think an inferior opponent. 49ers are good, but they were an inferior opponent. Green Bay doesn't normally lose in this round either, but they've struggled at home in the postseason really since they lost their first home game at Lambeau Field all the way back in 2002 against the Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta Falcons were the first team that won a playoff game at Lambeau Field.
Yeah.
And since then, the Packers were 7-0, 8-0 at home before that playoffs. And now since then, they've been 500.
Mike Vick just led a completely – I remember watching that game. That was just amazing. Yeah. There was snow on the field and everything. Mike Vick just tore them apart.
Mm-hmm.
So
right. Yeah. But I don't know what it is that they haven't been able to take care of business at home in the playoffs. And then last year it was like, oh, well, just get Aaron Rodgers a home NFC Championship game. That's never happened before. He's going to take care of business at home, and he'll finally go back to the Super Bowl. Didn't do it then either. So, again, I don't have any, statistic. I think all the statistics point to Green Bay winning this game, and I would pick Green Bay if I'm a betting man. But I just am concerned. Like, is this another Green Bay falling short in the playoffs this year? They have their own demons and questions to answer, just like I laid out all the questions for the number one seed in the AFC. The questions for the number one seed in the NFC is, can they finally get it done when it matters most in the playoffs? They've been a great regular season team, especially with Matt LaFleur. Can they finally win at home in the playoffs?
I think this week they do. I think those questions come into play next week for the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to have a good discussion about those questions next week.
Okay.
This week, you're playing San Francisco, who is a good team. They're not a bad team. They're a good team. I give them their props. They're not necessarily a team that I expect to be able to beat Green Bay in this kind of in a divisional round game. Again, with Jimmy Garoppolo is going to make a mistake, and these are games you cannot make mistakes in. They almost got burned by Garoppolo's mistakes last week.
Right.
But, I don't see Rodgers making a mistake in this divisional round game. Now, next week, whether he's playing the Rams or the Buccaneers, then we got a different story.
Yeah.
But this week, I do think with Devontae Adams and Jones, who's an excellent receiver as well as a runner, I think this is a game that, Aaron Jones, I think this is a game that Green Bay wins and they advance. So, I know there are question marks. I know Frisco can rise to the upset. I don't think they do.
Okay. Yeah. I think
but again, it's just like the Bengals. The Bengals have to score early and take the ball out of the running game. They got to put the ball in Ryan Tannehill's hands.
Yeah.
So they got to score quick. Same thing for the San Francisco 49ers. All right. They got to take the two dimensions away from the Green Bay offense and start, putting the ball in Rodgers' hands and making Rodgers, work downfield to beat you. If you can do that, if they can get an early lead, yeah, it's possible. But I don't think they get an early lead.
Yeah.
I think they keep it close, but I don't think they win this game.
Well, keeping it close would be nice with all the blowouts that we had on Super Wildcard Weekend. So,
well, it's amazing. We lost our 7 seeds pretty easily, didn't we? Those 7 seeds kind of dropped quick.
I was going to have this rant about, 7 seeds and how we really don't need to have this extra playoff game.
Hey, have a rant. I rant all the time. Have a rant. Go for it.
But, there were the Arizona Cardinals and even, the Las Vegas Raiders and a couple of the other playoff teams, the Dallas Cowboys, didn't help my argument because there weren't any great playoff games last week. So it was just one of those playoff weekends where there were a lot of blowouts. I can't really explain why, but did the Steelers belong in the playoffs? No, not really at all. And the Eagles didn't either. But I think
we saw that, didn't we? Man.
I think the Arizona Cardinals were worse than either of those teams. Those two teams.
Oh, the Cardinals! It's amazing how they fell flat over the last 5 weeks of the season.
Yeah,
and into their playoff game. And I know you asked me very early in the season who I thought was the best team in the NFL. I said the Arizona Cardinals. And, man, I ended up eating those words, didn't I?
I was going to bring it up, but I'm glad you did instead. Yeah. So I didn't have to.
I didn't stand with it. I'll stand. I'll take my beating. You say enough things over the course of a year. Yeah, you're gonna be wrong occasionally. Every now and then, sure.
I think I said the Rams, right? At least in the NFC.
I think you did. Yes.
Yeah. So I still think the Rams are going to go to the Super Bowl. Partially that's just me staying with who I picked originally, but
okay.
I like the way the Rams are playing right now. They're looking good.
Yeah, but man, Matthew Stafford always worries me.
I knew you'd bring that up.
Again, this is another guy who I watch play for a long time, twice a year.
I think he's gonna. I mean, he broke through with his first playoff win last week.
Yes, he did.
And I think this is the year that he silences his critics like you.
Stafford tries to get cute. If Stafford just did what he can do, stays within himself, the guy's an incredible talent. But he tries to get cute. He tries to do these Mahomes things, and he can't do them. He tries to go sidearm. He's been trying to throw the ball sidearm to receivers for years, and it always backfires on him.
Couldn't that be a product, though, of being on the Detroit Lions and that the entire team, entire franchise falls on his shoulders? And there has been a little bit of Sean McVay trying to tell him, hey, this isn't all on your shoulders. And last week, they had a great running game against the Cardinals. Yeah. That's what won the game.
They did.
But the fact that he has such a great team, shouldn't that enable him to play more within himself?
I would think so. That would be how I would look at it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's we're in uncharted territory here for Matthew Stafford.
Yeah. Well, if he beats Tom Brady on the road, I think you're going to have to. I don't know what you're going to have to do. Stop criticizing him so much, I guess. I was going to reset our show here, and we have a question from Gary. And maybe do you want to do the prize picks now and then dive into the next two games? Or we're already kind of talking about Rams Buccaneers. You want to dive?
Yeah, let's keep going. We can do our prize picks. It's hard to bet against Brady. Larry Orton says, "Yeah, boy, isn't it?" Yeah, and
that's what I'm saying. I think if Stafford beats Brady, though, we got to give him a ton of props if it happens. I'm not saying. My pick is I'm picking the Rams to go to the Super Bowl, so I'm picking the Rams to win this game. I think, but not necessarily because I think Stafford's going to outplay Brady. I am concerned about that offensive line for the Buccaneers. It's beat up.
They got two major injuries on their offensive line.
Yes.
Especially to their center. And that's, boy.
How are you going to block Aaron Donald if your center, Ryan Jenkins, is not 100%?
That's it exactly.
And then how are you going to block Miller on the outside when Tristan Wirfs is not 100%?
Yes,
it's
exactly.
That is really going to be that is the matchup I'm watching in this game.
Yes.
If Tampa Bay can do that, I think they'll stop the run as they did last week against the Eagles, and they'll force Stafford to beat them. And you're telling me you like Tampa Bay's chances in that situation. And, I think I would too, that Brady would outplay Stafford. But I don't think they're going to be able to block Aaron Donald and Von Miller. I think Brady
is going to be catching hell this week.
Yeah.
Excuse me. My throat is all scratchy today. The problem is the Eagles actually got to Brady last week.
They did. Yeah.
And
the defense, I mean, I don't know if we can say they kept him in the game when it was 24-0, but it could have been a lot worse.
Yes,
I mean, it could have been a lot worse. And they did keep, it was 17-0 or 17-3 at halftime. And the Eagles had the ball coming out of halftime. They had the ball before halftime. They had a chance to pull within one score because their defense had held Tampa Bay off the scoreboard for most of the second quarter. And just the Eagles just didn't have the quarterback to do that. But their defense held down Brady for portions of that game. And
I
think
they did
have that success too.
Yeah, and I see the Rams being able to do that. The Rams have a front, their defensive front is as good as anybody. As long as you got Aaron Donald anchoring that front, you're dangerous. So, if Tampa had a healthy offensive line, I would say this is a different game. But I don't think the Rams are going to be able to run as effectively. However, this is where that great group of Rams receivers comes into play.
Yeah.
And that's going to be hard to stop.
Yeah.
So
I think Cooper Kupp, he just wasn't featured much last week.
Right.
I think he's going to have a big
He didn't need to be.
Right. Yeah. McVay does not need to outsmart himself. He knows that the ground game is working, so he stays with the ground game.
And that's it. McVay does not have to be the smartest man in the room.
Right. But this week, I think that Tampa Bay defense is going to force them to throw more, and Cooper Kupp is going to have to be the MVP-like player that he's been all season. I think he will.
And I think he does it. I mean, that's the thing, and that's a big plus for the Rams is that for Stafford is he's got a player like Cooper Kupp that he can go to that's reliable, that just somehow seems to get open no matter what the coverage is, and gets his hands on the ball. That's an amazing tool to have as a receiver, or as a quarterback, is to be able to do that. So having Kupp is going to be big. Then you got Van Jefferson. So,
yeah.
I mean,
you have Odell Beckham Jr. too. He was the featured receiver at the beginning of that game against the Cardinals, catching a touchdown. And boy, I think Cleveland Brown fans, even New York Giant fans, are watching Odell Beckham in a playoff game catching a touchdown pass and just banging their head against the wall. Why can't we? Why didn't we have this guy? Was on our team. He was our number one receiver. And for whatever reason, it didn't work out. He didn't want to be here. He was a trouble. Whatever. Why didn't it work out? And it's working. It's working really well.
Yeah. For the longest time, especially when he was with the Giants, I thought Odell Beckham Jr. was one of the most dynamic receivers in the league. He made catches that I didn't think any wide receiver could get to, and he would get his hands on the ball and catch them.
Yeah.
So
he was special.
So I really. Yeah, I mean, and then you got Tyler Higbee at tight end. So, I mean, you got a great set of weapons. But, yeah, I mean, last week, right, the Rams really didn't need them. But this week, yeah, I think that's going to be another thing is you really do have to watch out for both sides of the coin against the Rams. Last week, you could kind of stack the Bucs and dare Jalen Hurts to beat you. And Hurts looked unprepared. He just looked like he wasn't ready to do that.
Yeah.
Stafford will. For all of Stafford's faults, and I think at some point in this game he throws a bad interception. But for all of Stafford's faults, just because he does that's what Stafford does. He throws a bad interception. But, for all his faults, he's got a group. If you stack the box against the Rams running game, he's going to kill you downfield. It's just like that. I mean, this is a whole different ballgame than what the Buccaneers faced last week with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, absolutely. And it'll be a different ball game too for the Kansas City Chiefs, who got to play that number 7 seed Pittsburgh Steelers last week, who kept it close for about a quarter and a half, and then Patrick Mahomes went all Steph Curry and hitting a bunch of three.
Oh my God.
And blow out by halftime. And the Buffalo Bills, my God, talk about a clinic. 7 possessions, 7 touchdowns, no punts, no field goal attempts, no turnovers in the game. First time that's ever happened in NFL history where a team scored touchdowns on their first 7 possessions of the game.
Yeah. That was amazing, wasn't it? That was truly a clinic.
Against Bill Belichick, too. That's going to be a great trivia question in 10, 15 years. Who is the only coach that gave up 7 touchdowns on 7 drives in a game in NFL history, assuming it doesn't happen again after this? But the answer will be Bill Belichick, one of the best defensive coaches of all time. That's amazing. But this is a rematch also of the AFC Championship game last year at Arrowhead Stadium again. How do you see this one, breaking down?
A lot of points.
Yeah.
Just a crap load of points. I don't know if you can have an over as far as betting. I don't know if you can have an over that's high enough for this game. The thing is, the Bills are better defensively. And for everything that Kansas City can do on offense, the Bills are better defensively than what the Chiefs are. The Chiefs will dominate you if you are an average offense, if you're an average team. The Chiefs have had problems with winning teams holding down opposing offenses. And I think that's going to make a big difference in this game, is the Chiefs being able to shut down Josh Allen. And another thing is Devin Singletary is really just coming into his own this season and in the playoffs. He had a hell of a game last week.
Mm-hmm.
And if he can run like that again this week, and let me see what the Chiefs are doing as far as yards per attempt. Chiefs are 31st on defense in yards per attempt against the running game. Devin Singletary could have a big game, and that's going to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands.
Yeah, that's who it should be. Yeah,
right. They're giving up 4.8 yards per attempt on the ground. The Chiefs are all season.
Yeah, and that's not that I want to revisit that ugly game Sunday night, but that's what the Steelers weren't able to do. That
Right.
their defense did a fantastic. I know they gave up 40 points on defense, and they gave up 300 yards in the first half. I get it. The stats were ugly, but that defense played really well for a quarter and a half. And when your defense is playing that well against Patrick Mahomes, you can't only be up 7-0 because your defense scored.
Right.
Your offense has to possess the ball. They have to move it, just a little bit. Right. 29 yards in the first half for the Steelers offense. It was just ridiculously bad.
Yeah.
And I could talk the whole show about the Steelers offense and the future of the team. I know that our listeners are not here for that, so I'll try and not.
They don't care about the Steelers, Dave. I'm sorry. Just like I'm not bringing up the Bears right now because they don't give a shit about the Bears.
Right. Yeah. But that's what you got to do again. When you have an opening like that, your defense gives you an opening like that. Buffalo's defense could give their team an opening like the Steelers defense did last week because Buffalo also has a great defense.
Yes, they do.
Buffalo has the offense to take advantage of it. The Steelers did not. That was the issue. And I think this would be another great, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes showdown. And we might get a bunch of those over the next few years.
This is turning into a Brady Manning type of rivalry.
Yeah.
And it's I really hope it does because the NFL thrives with that kind of quarterback competition.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you really do have a possible, this is the new Brady Manning right here is Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes. And it's going to be amazing. But to me, the difference in this game, again, is Buffalo's defense. They're first in points per play on defense, first in defensive points per drive, first in defensive passer rating. So, Mahomes is not going to find living as easy this week as he did last week. First in third down percentage, allowed. So, this is a team that really shuts you down in a lot of ways. And it's going to be tough for the Chiefs to establish an offense. Can Jerick McKinnon do what he did last week and help keep things opened up for Patrick Mahomes? We'll see.
Yeah, that's a great point. He had a huge game.
Right. So we will see. That will help if McKinnon can get off. The Buffalo Bills give up 4.2 rushing yards per attempt, but Buffalo just plays a lot better defense, and I think Buffalo wins this game. I think they are the better team.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. Well, I think this. Honestly, no disrespect to the Bengals and Titans, but this is the AFC Championship today or tomorrow. The Bills and Chiefs.
It really is.
Those to me those are the two best teams in the conference.
I agree. I think so too. I just it's just going to be an incredible game. I mean, you all you fans need to be out there sitting in front of this game and watching this game because this is going to be a fun one.
So we got about 11 minutes left and quite a few things that I want to get to here in the last few minutes. Let's do our prize picks. I've got prize picks again. I'm trying to rebound from my awful first week showing of prize picks last week. I'll let you go first.
Neither of us did well last week, Dave, because the coaches did not do what they were supposed to do.
Oh, right. It was the coach's fault.
It was the coach's fault.
Mm-hmm. So who do you got this week for Prize Picks? Which, by the way, I should mention. Sorry, Tom. Should mention that video is brought to you by Prize Picks. Download the app to get started. It can do it today, and when you do, use the promo code ASU. That gets you a 100% match on your first deposit. Free money. It supports us, supports the show, but it also gets you free money to first deposit $20. You get $20, $100, you get $100. And we're going to share who we're picking on Prize Picks today and tomorrow.
And like I say, if you pick 3, and you can do a flex where if you pick 3 and you only get 2, you still win. You get a win. You know, 4 and you only get 3, you still win some money. So
Right.
that's pretty nice to do. And I'll tell you what Prize Picks is doing this for this weekend. And this is really great. This is something that you should be involved in. If you want to sign up for Prime Picks, this is the week to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because they have Patrick Mahomes at plus or minus half a yard.
Yeah.
Okay, half a passing yard. They are giving you 1 pick. All right. They are serving it up on a platter. They are giving you Patrick Mahomes. So take advantage of that. Sign up, get in there, and there's a lot of other good picks to have, and we're going to give them to you right now. But
you gave away my first pick. Mahomes.
Gave away your first pick.
Mahomes.
Okay.
More than half a yard passing. That's my first pick.
Amazing, isn't it? Just grab it. So
watch, Mahomes is going to have a pre-game injury and not play, and I'm going to be wrong.
Well, then it gets taken off the board. You don't get charged for that. So
he'll get injured during the coin toss. It's too late to take him off the board. He has zero passing yards. No, I don't think that's going to happen. Take Patrick Mahomes over half a yard passing.
Yeah. So, and let me see if it's on here because they don't have Alan Lazard on here for touchdowns. Because I was thinking, a lot of places are giving Alan Lazard plus or minus a touchdown. And that was going to be an ideal one for Mike Evans. I would say go ahead and take, because the Buccaneers are just hurting with receivers. Mike Evans had a big game last week.
Yeah.
And I haven't checked the latest on Mike Evans. I would say, where is he here? Come on, you got to have Mike Evans for him.
He's at 65 and a half.
65 and a half.
Yeah.
Take Mike Evans. This is a good week to take Mike Evans. Because Brady established a connection with him last week, and they are still going to have a connection this week. Who else do you have, Dave? Give me another one of yours.
Well, that was one of mine, Mike Evans. Plus, I was going over on the 65 and a half receiving yards. I like, I'm going a little bit different category here. I'm going with Aaron Rodgers over 24 completions.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm looking at his last 5 meaningful regular season games, not counting the Detroit Lion week 17 game or week 18 game. Sorry. He had 29 completions week 17, 24 week 16, 23 week 15, 29 week 14, and then week 12, they had a bye week 13. Week 12, he had 28. So he's been around that his last 5 games. He was under just once, met 24 another time. And the other 3 games, he was over 24 completions. I think this is a big Aaron Rodgers game. I think he's going to be throwing a lot, completing 70% of his passes, more than that. What is his completion percentage this year was 68.9. But in a lot of these games that I'm referencing, in all of them, he had a completion percentage above 70%, and a lot of them well above 70%. So I think he's going to be over 24 completions.
Okay. That's a good one. That is a really good one. You did your homework on that one, Dave. I really like that one. And I would say if you want to do any others, I
got one more for you if you don't have any more.
Go for it.
Well, you mentioned Deebo Samuel and how he's going to do something special at Lambeau Field tonight. I've got him over 35 and a half rushing yards.
I think that's fantastic. I think that works out great too.
Yeah.
I think that's a great one because I think, they've been using Samuel as a rusher as much as they've been using him as a receiver. And Samuel always makes something happen. as I say, he does something spectacular every game. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, he was over 35. Well, he had 72 rushing yards last week, and then in the last regular season game, he had 45 rushing yards. My concern is the San Francisco has to get ahead in this game for him to get 8 to 10 carries, which is what he had in those two games that I just referenced. If they fall behind, then I'm going to be a little bit nervous of, is he going to get enough attempts to get to 36 rushing yards? But I hope that San Francisco has 7-0 lead in this game, and Samuel can get that by halftime with the carries that maybe he'll get in the first, second quarter.
Yeah, that's a good one. But you got to realize too, Elijah Mitchell is going to get carries.
That's true.
So,
well, that's what I'm saying. I think they have to have a lead because Mitchell's going to get carries, and for Samuel to get enough carries, I think they have to have the lead in the first half.
That's a great pick.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is a great pick. I really like that. I'll go out on a limb and say take Matthew Stafford over 1/2 interceptions. I think Stafford always throws an interception at some point.
It's half 0.05?
Yeah, 0.5 interceptions. So if he throws 0 interceptions, you lose.
Right.
Well, if you take him on the under, you win. But if he throws 1 interception, then you get him.
Okay.
So I'll always count on Matthew Stafford to make a mistake somewhere.
All right. Those are your prize picks for divisional weekend. I do want to get into a couple minutes here on the coaching carousel, specifically, two former Falcons head coaches, former Falcons head coaches. Raheem Morris was the head coach for 3/4 of a season. And then, of course, the big name, Dan Quinn. Everybody seems to be falling in love with Dan Quinn. This
all over again. Yep.
But before we get to that, I did want to give a shout out to Michael Lee Aday. Is that how you say his last name?
Yes.
Aday, better known as Meatloaf. I'm wearing my Meatloaf shirt today.
Okay.
He passed away yesterday. I believe it was from COVID complications.
It was.
And regardless of what he died of, he was a fantastic rock singer.
One of a kind. I mean, he had a classical. It is almost like a classical singer as far as voice. He had a range as far as voice. It was amazing.
Yeah, incredible voice. I love his music. I was listening to it all day yesterday, and he doesn't have as many hits as, say, like the Beatles or Bruce Springsteen or the Rolling Stones, so like rock royalty. But I mean, Meatloaf has some terrific songs, and I think both. I saw people saying, Bat Out of Hell was one of the greatest albums. I really like Bat Out of Hell too. I think both of them are fantastic.
I think Bat Out of Hell is the best of them. I love Bat Out of Hell. I don't think there's a weak track on it. So,
yeah, I think agreed that Bat Out of Hell 2 might have a weak track or two, but I mean, the best of each album, I think, go toe to toe with each other.
Yeah. As I say, just he was an original. You just didn't sing like him. Nobody performed like him. That's the thing. That's going to be missed. It's unfortunate. So, it's sorry to see, but yeah, he was unique.
And he will be deeply missed. I really will. It was really sad hearing about him passing away yesterday. So Gary's been waiting very patiently with one of his question on Dan Quinn. Where's the best fit for him? Wherever he wants at this point. Everybody seems to be wanting Dan Quinn, and I think I'll have a better answer for you next week, Gary. Kind of looking at defensive personnel and what team defensively his scheme where he best fits with the openings that are available to him. But I guess my question about Dan Quinn, he went from fired by the Falcons to everybody wants him this offseason. And it's just kind of like, are we going too overboard with our love for Dan Quinn?
I think so, because I think Dan Quinn's another Mike McCarthy, just on the defensive side of the ball. It's amazing that they ended up together, because Dan Quinn, I think if you give him talent, he will win with it. If you give him players to develop, or players that maybe aren't as maybe top 50 draft picks or something like that, I don't think he's good enough to take that team and mold them into a winning team. I think he needs established talent to win.
I think he's a guy that's just better off as a coordinator.
So
he
do I.
Be a really great coordinator, make a career of being a coordinator, but as a head coach, I'm just not sure he's. I don't want to say cut out to do that, but I guess that's kind of what I'm saying. That he's.
I don't think he's a very good head coach.
Yeah.
I don't think he makes good game decisions. I don't think he's a good game coach. I think he gets his players rallied around him, but yeah. I don't think he's a good game coach. And as I say, he's got to have talent like the Falcons did, during the Super Bowl year. That was just an incredibly talented team. Mm-hmm. So, and he was able to mold them and lead them. But if he doesn't have that kind of talent on his team, he's not the guy who can raise the level of play for guys and turn them into a playoff contender. And that's the way I see him. That's the way I look at him. It's the way I look at Mike McCarthy. And as I say, it's funny that they both ended up on the same staff together.
Right. So I guess to answer Gary's question, where is he best fit? The team that's most talented and at least defensively. And I think that probably is Las Vegas, where, we were, for good reason, we said that Las Vegas wasn't really an opening because their interim head coach had done such a great job, but it looks like they are.
It looks like it's going to be an opening anyway.
Yeah. Right or wrong, we disagree with it being an opening, but they fire their GM. They're going to bring in a new GM. The GM's going to want to hire his own guy. So it's going to be a new coach there. Dan Quinn probably fits best there.
I think
with the talent that they have already going to the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Dave. Definitely 100% with you that I think the Raiders are probably his best fit. So we'll see. I mean, it's going to be interesting, but there's so many candidates and so many people getting interviews, and it's amazing all the names that I'm seeing every day that are getting interviews, that are getting multiple interviews with multiple teams, and it's going to be amazing when this carousel finally settles down, because I have no read on any of this at all.
It's hard to when there's so many names being floated out there every day. It's really difficult to have even a guess,
because it's like each team is interviewing like 6 or 7 guys.
Well, ultimately that's a good thing though, right?
I think
they're doing their due diligence and the best guys are going to be hired.
Yeah, you're not just handing the guy to the good old boys club. You're not handing the job to one of them.
Right.
You're actually getting a lot of coaches involved in this interview process and giving them a chance to talk about what they can do for a team. And I love it. I really do. I love this.
Yeah,
I think this is a great. I think this is one of the best off seasons for coaching, for following the coaching hires that we've had in a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, and I said at the top of the show that I was excited about it. That's one of the reasons why I'm excited about it. And I'm excited for the minority candidates. We didn't mention this last week on the show, but we talked about David Culley. We talked about Brian Flores, both getting fired, and we thought that they were, wrongfully fired, that we felt like they did better. They did not deserve to be fired based on their 2021 season.
I think considering what David Culley had to work with, it was amazing what he did in Houston.
Right. And though they were 2 of the 3 black head coaches currently in the NFL for the 2021 season, Robert Saleh being a minority coach, but not African-American. And, seeing 2 of them fired, we thought unjustly was disappointing, but what is what we can look forward to this month and into February is there are a lot of black coaches that I think could be hired.
Yes.
And it could, a majority of the coaches that are hired may be, end up being black coaches. It could be 5, 6.
I think Byron Leftwich is going to be one of them.
I think Raheem Morris could be another one. Brian Flores.
Brian Flores is going to get hired somewhere.
Yeah.
If he's going to get hired as a head coach. They're going to show the Dolphins what they did, how they screwed up with Brian Flores. He's going to end up with another team.
Pantera says that 6 new head coaches are still coordinators in the playoffs. That's could very well be true, and that's part of why we haven't seen any hires yet, because they're still coaching in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I also want to give a shout out to Pantera. He brought up that Louis Anderson.
Yeah.
I'm not as familiar with his work as I am Meatloaf. That's why I brought up Meatloaf. Meatloaf was more dear to my heart hearing him pass away yesterday. And Pantera, you're absolutely right that I think several of Meatloaf's songs are in the top 100 all time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But that about does it for our show today. We'll have more coaching carousel talk next week. A lot of these coaches, again, will be on the spotlight this weekend with their teams being playing in the playoffs. And we hope you sign up for Prize Picks. Use that promo code ASU when you do. Use our picks to win some money this weekend. And we'll be back next Saturday.
Yeah, have a great week, everyone. Some great football this weekend.
Enjoy it.